The film opens in an unnamed city where wisps of cotton drift together inside a bedroom, forming the shape of a rabbit that moves beneath a bed. 8-year-old Aurora sleeps above until strange noises from below startle her awake and she screams in fear. Her parents rush in, but when her mother checks under the bed and finds nothing, they dismiss Aurora's worries and tell her to go back to sleep. Still frightened, Aurora chooses to sleep on the balcony. When she looks back into her room, she sees the cotton rabbit creeping toward her. Trying to calm herself, Aurora notices a neighbor wandering the hallway late at night. She is particularly fascinated by the man in Unit 5B, a hitman whose nocturnal routines she often spies on, even watching him when he checks his mailbox. One night, Aurora sees 5B leaving again and quietly follows him, narrowly avoiding detection. They make their way to Chinatown, where a festival is in progress. To blend in, Aurora finds a rabbit mask and puts it on. Soon, she spots several armed gang members tailing 5B, some concealed beneath a dragon costume. Seeking a safe vantage point, Aurora climbs onto a nearby rooftop, ready in case trouble breaks out. Aware of the threat, 5B confronts the gang and effortlessly defeats them as Aurora watches. Though he is fighting armed men hidden inside the dragon costume, Aurora perceives the encounter as a battle between her neighbor and a real dragon. Afterward, 5B returns to the apartment, with Aurora silently following behind. Inside the elevator on the way to his floor, 5B notices blood dripping from a wound he sustained during the fight and wipes it from the floor with his socks. One evening, while taking a bath, Aurora glimpses the cotton rabbit beneath her bed before it slips into the floorboards. Convinced that a monster lives beneath her, she warns her parents not to step on the floor, insisting it will cause the creature to appear. They dismiss her fears and attempt to reassure her. Later that night, after saying goodnight to her parents, Aurora is awakened by the sounds of the monster attacking them. The following morning, she enters her parents' bedroom and finds it in disarray, with no sign of them. Realizing what has happened, Aurora is left alone in the apartment. From that point on, she avoids touching the floor entirely, constantly riding atop a large hippo toy. One night, Aurora is startled by noises beneath her bed and tries to escape, but the monster prevents her. The creature bursts through the floorboards, revealing its massive size, and violently shakes the bed as Aurora clings to it. Eventually, the monster retreats, allowing the exhausted girl to fall asleep. The next morning, determined to rid herself of the monster, Aurora goes to a church. During the offering, when the donation box is passed to her, she grabs it and runs out. Meanwhile, 5B returns to his apartment and checks his mailbox, where he finds an envelope. Inside his room, he opens it to discover a letter from someone seeking to hire him to eliminate the monster under a child's bed, accompanied by a sum of money. Moments later, there is a knock at the door. It is Aurora, who reveals that she wrote the letter. When 5B asks how she obtained the money, Aurora admits the truth. He then questions why she believes he is capable of killing a monster, and Aurora recounts witnessing his fight with the dragon in Chinatown. Although 5B attempts to explain that the incident was not what she thinks, Aurora remains convinced that he killed a real monster. She goes on to tell him about the creature living beneath her bed, claiming it devoured her parents, and begs him to destroy it. Skeptical but curious, 5B agrees to see for himself. Aurora leads him to her parents' bedroom, where he discovers a large claw mark on a wardrobe. However, finding no blood or concrete evidence of an attack, he struggles to believe her story. Aurora insists the monster eats everything whole. Back at his apartment, 5B again tries to convince Aurora that he never fought a dragon, but she remains unwavering in her belief. When he asks why the monster would kill her parents, Aurora simply explains that it was because they stepped on the floor. Refusing to accept the job, 5B returns the money to her. Believing instead that Aurora's parents were murdered by assassins searching for him, 5B meets his handler, Levron, at a restaurant. He gives her the parents' identification cards and mentions Aurora's claim that a monster killed them, though he remains convinced the deaths were the work of assassins. Levron responds that, since the girl now knows about his profession, he should kill her as well. 5B refuses, telling Levron that he feels responsible for protecting Aurora. Back in his apartment, 5B hears unusual movement in the elevator and immediately realizes what is coming. He rushes to Aurora's apartment and tells her to hide in the closet. As he prepares himself, two hitmen arrive, one entering through the elevator and the other through a window. 5B engages the first in a brutal hand-to-hand fight, while the second slips into Aurora's bedroom. Believing Aurora is still on the bed, the hitman opens fire, only to discover it stuffed with pillows. She then approaches the closet, finds Aurora hiding inside, and prepares to shoot her. At that moment, however, the hitman is suddenly consumed by an unseen force. Meanwhile, after a violent struggle, 5B manages to kill the other hitman by choking him to death. He rushes to Aurora and asks if anyone else entered her room. Aurora explains that another person did come in but was eaten by the monster under her bed. Once again, 5B struggles to believe her. He drags the lifeless body of the hitman into Aurora's apartment, and together they work to hide the evidence. When Aurora mentions the monster again, 5B insists that her parents were killed by the same organization responsible for the attack. They narrowly avoid being questioned by Brenda, Aurora's child protection agent, who arrives for an appointment with 5B. He tells her they will need to reschedule. Brenda reveals that Aurora's parents were only fostering her and that they were, in fact, her third set of foster parents. She also assumes that 5B is now her third foster parent as well. After Brenda leaves, 5B asks Aurora about her previous foster parents. Aurora calmly tells him that they were all eaten by the monster, something she admits she had wished for. Aurora explains that she wanted her foster parents gone because they were unkind to her, though she admits that some of them were nice. Now, she believes the monster wants to eat her as well, convinced that she is wicked and undeserving of a family. When 5B checks beneath her bed, he finds nothing, and Aurora explains that the monster only appears at night. The two begin talking, and their conversation gradually becomes emotional. Later that night, 5B meets a disgruntled Leveron, 5B carrying a suitcase containing the remains of the hitman he killed. It is revealed that Leveron herself hired Aurora's attackers in order to eliminate loose ends. When 5B asks about Aurora's birth parents, Leveron says they abandoned her, though the truth of their fate is already known. She also reminds 5B of the bounty on his head. Moments later, Aurora arrives, upset that 5B intends to leave her behind. He responds that he does not recall promising to stay. Leveron finds it absurd that Aurora hired 5B to eliminate the monster under her bed and laughs at the idea. Noticing how much Aurora has softened him, Leveron warns 5B that the assassins will not stop until he is dead and urges him to leave. Meanwhile, at a Chinese restaurant, 5B and Aurora encounter another assassin with a bounty on 5B's head. The man approaches them during their meal and asks to speak with 5B outside. 5B refuses, explaining that he is in the middle of eating. Before leaving, the assassin warns him to watch his back. After exiting the restaurant and heading home, 5B and Aurora notice the assassin and his team following them. Back at the apartment, Brenda arrives once again. During their conversation, 5B tells her that he is not Aurora's foster father. He then turns off the apartment lights and shows Brenda the assassin and his team converging on Aurora's apartment. Suddenly, there is a knock at the door. When 5B opens it, he finds Leveron, who has returned to insist that Aurora must die. She argues that the girl knows too much about his work and could one day turn him into the police. Leveron also warns him about the assassins waiting outside, but 5B remains resolute in his determination to protect Aurora. Frustrated, Leveron leaves, saying she has done all she can. When 5B returns inside, Brenda reveals her true identity, admitting that she is an FBI agent investigating the disappearance of Aurora's 3 previous families. She alerts her team outside to the situation, unaware that the assassins and their men have already entered the building. Suddenly, a loud thud echoes from Aurora's room. Rushing to investigate, 5B and Brenda are told by Aurora that it is the monster. She screams for them to get off the floor, desperate to make them understand, but 5B stubbornly ignores her warnings. As 5B and Brenda move toward the apartment door, one of the assassins fires through it, shooting Brenda. A gunfight erupts, and 5B drags her body into the bathroom, where they lock themselves inside. Moments later, Brenda's team storms the building and engages the hitmen in a fierce firefight. The battle abruptly halts when the floor begins to shake. Suddenly, the monster, a vicious, giant bunny, bursts through the floor and begins devouring everyone in its path. It is revealed that Brenda is still alive, protected by a bulletproof vest. While hiding, 5B searches a drawer and finds a chemical thumb-sucking deterrent he had been carrying. When they sense movement beneath the floor, they quickly climb to higher ground. The monster hurls one of the hitmen into the bathroom, where 5B and Brenda kill him. Outside, the strange sounds continue. When everything finally falls silent, they throw the hitman's body onto the floor and watch in horror as the giant bunny emerges once more and devours it, confirming that Aurora has been telling the truth all along. The FBI, along with Brenda, manages to arrest the remaining hitmen, warning them about the monster beneath the floor. However, as they prepare to leave, the giant bunny erupts from the ground once more and savagely devours them all, including Brenda. 5B is the sole survivor. After ensuring that Aurora is unharmed, 5B rushes toward her room, intending to escape through the window. Before he can reach her, the monstrous bunny bursts from the floor and swallows him whole, leaving Aurora frozen in terror beneath her bedcovers. The following morning, Aurora awakens to strange noises coming from the floor. Moments later, 5B is expelled from beneath it, spat out by the creature after being repelled by the chemical thumb-sucking deterrent he had applied earlier. Soon after, Leveron arrives at the apartment, intent on finishing the job by killing Aurora. 5B pleads with her to spare the girl, warning her to get off the floor and insisting that a monster is present. He also reveals that Leverin is his mother, though she refuses to believe him. Leverin is then confronted by the giant bunny and manages to drive it away temporarily by shooting at it. However, the threat is not over. The monster reappears behind her and devours her whole. The creature then turns its attention to 5B, but just as it is about to consume him, Aurora steps in front of him, bringing the rampage to an abrupt halt. It is revealed that the monster never intended to harm Aurora. 5B tells her that the creature belongs to her and that she must learn to control it. Together, they leave the city to begin a new life. As they drive along a sunlit highway, the monster is seen running alongside their car. Please like and subscribe for more video like this. Thanks for watching.